This is the exact spot that I did my 2024 reflection video last year. And it is time for my 2025 reflection video. I've done a lot of things this year. I had a couple resolutions that I did with varying success. A bit less success than last time, but there was also a lot more stuff going on in my life. Yeah, let's talk about it. I would say 2025 was my best year in recent memory. I started this channel with a focus on mental health, and I've not always made this channel about my mental health, but my mental health was amazing in 2025, all things considered. Pretty unprecedented levels of happiness, of functioning, and activity. I have so much to be grateful for. So much. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start in your review. My resolutions made up a pretty small amount of the year, to be honest. I tried to completely abstain from porn, which lasted the first 4 months of the year. I'm proud of myself even for just lasting that long. Going through that journey helped me understand the emotions of lust a lot more, and has affected the way I interact with porn since. However, I do still watch it, and I am still negotiating that relationship as time goes on. I also had a resolution to journal. I did not clearly define this resolution. It was just a vague intention I made at the beginning of the year. So for the first 8 months of the year, I did not really journal that much. Well, I journaled during work. I worked in wilderness therapy from the beginning of the year to May, and we had journaling assignments we would give the kids at the end of every single day. So I journaled with them, and I did it during work more often than I did it on my own time. On my own time, I didn't start journaling regularly until September. So in September, I finally got inspired. I don't know what made me do it. It just felt like time. It was just time. And in September, I forced myself to start journaling every single day. I missed a couple days, but I got more days than I missed by a lot. And then I think by October, I got almost every single day. And since then, it's been a nightly routine for me. Before I go to bed, I journal almost every day. And if I miss a day, it's a pretty big anomaly. I usually miss like 3 days a month. So this has been going on for 4 months now. That has been a regular habit of mine and has undoubtedly changed my life for the better. A lot of things have changed my life for the better this year. Journaling is one of them. It gives me so much perspective as to where I'm going in life and to how my choices are progressing in real time. The method I've developed is to put the day and the date, and then before I start writing, I also add a title, which is a little bit creative. I force myself to title the day, give the day a name. It's a way to romanticize my own life. And then I give it a rating out of 10. How much did I enjoy this day out of 10? I write whatever I want to write after that. Oftentimes it's the events of the day and or how I feel about them. After that, I put down some data points, which right now consist of whether I wrote that day, whether I journaled that day, and whether I exercised that day or not. These 3 data points are significant because they represent some practices that I have that have somewhat of a direct effect on my mental health. I wouldn't know that they have an effect if I didn't keep track of them. The reason I've been able to observe and analyze them is because I can go back to my journal entries and look at the days that were above a 5 out of 10. I noticed that those days have a lot more writing and exercising and journaling than the days that I did none of those things. If I hadn't journaled for a day, what I would do is I would journal the day after retroactively, and I just wouldn't fill in the journal bubble data points. So on a given day that I had not journaled, had not written, had not exercised, it's more likely that that day would be below a 5 on the enjoyment scale than if I had done all 3 of those things. So in this way, journaling has become a tool to objectify and analyze the enjoyment of my own life. It turns my life into more of a science that I can understand and interact with. I would like to credit somewhat my friend and ex-roommate Cameron, because he was very much his own life scientist. He takes so much data on every single aspect of his life, and I thought that was cool, and I wanted to try it out. I've been meaning to journal for a while, but he inspired me with the data points and inspired me to just look at my life differently. It's a thing we can interact with so immediately. We can always intervene when something is going wrong. We can always course correct. If we are watching our course in real time, it is so much easier to course correct than if we wait until we hit a wall or a rock in the ocean. We can always course correct if we are watching our course closely and we have our goal, our navigation point in mind. Last on the resolutions list was my intention to gain 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Now, I did not do this, and I also did not try very hard to do this either. I think the past 2 years I have had resolutions relating to content creation or my goals with content creation. It's funny to me because they both have been my least successful resolutions both years. I think it says something about me that I am unpacking even now, I guess. I think I just don't jive with outcome goals. I cannot make things happen in the external world. And the way I orient myself to make things happen in the external world, it doesn't end successfully. The only thing I can focus on is myself. And I do believe that I have external success ahead of me. But I think it's not going to come by me attaching myself to it or attaching myself to the specific way in which it's going to unfold. I will never be able to control how my future unfolds. And by not accepting that, I think I am preventing the future that is meant to unfold. So this year, I am not going to make any resolutions about content creation or subscriber count or viewership. Maybe I'll make some monetary goals, but they will be realistic and attainable within my current limits. And they will not expect anything of the world. I am going to stop expecting things from the world, and I'm going to start expecting more things from myself. That's the only person I can expect things from if I want to achieve my goals. So that wraps up my resolutions. I always like reflecting on them. I was much less rigorous in my pursuit of these resolutions this year than I was of last year, and that's okay. Not every year has to be a regimented pursuit of arbitrary rules that we set for ourselves at the beginning of the year. I think I pushed myself a lot this year. My resolutions and my success with them don't represent how much I pushed myself this year whatsoever. I did some really insane things, and I will talk about them now. I'm back in my home in St. George, loving life, happy to be back. God, the nature out here is so beautiful. And today I'm just filled with such a sense of gratitude for the special place that I live. But we are going to continue with the 2025 reflection. So the highlights I decided to talk about are mainly in relation to my job at Red Cliffs Wilderness Therapy, my road trip to Alaska that happened in July, and the sheer amount of communities and relationships that I explored and I let pass by me this year, because there were a lot. So, for those of you who don't know, a lot of 2024 and 2025 was spent working in wilderness therapy. I got into this line of work because of my history with mental health, and I felt like my history and my experience with it would enable me to help others in a powerful way. And I think in some ways I was correct. Also, it was my first time really investing myself in something larger than me. So it's always going to hold a special place in my life for that reason. It gave me purpose, it gave me a sense of direction and fulfillment. And I was joined with so many other people who had this common cause, and we all believed in it. So, honestly, wilderness therapy, I would say, was one of the biggest galvanizing forces that got me out of my depression in 2024. It is the reason I moved down to St. George, and it had such a profound effect on my life. Some of this is coming from 2024 still, but my time in wilderness therapy continued into May of 2025. So that's why I'm speaking about it. As of right now, I believe that May 2025 is when my journey with wilderness therapy ended, and I don't think I'll be coming back to it, at least not any time in the short-term future, and not as a regular field staff. But it had a profound effect on my life, and I just want to make a note of that and cite it as one of the first things in my life that I was really truly committed to as myself, and really truly gave me a lot of reason to live. There are some disagreements that I had with the management and the culture of the company that I worked for, and ultimately I was fired. And I still have some frustrations about that situation, but now that I'm reflecting on it, I'm really just grateful that it happened. I'm really just grateful that I got to meet so many amazing people. It was such a special time in my life. We would go out for a week at a time to backpack with kids or to stay with kids at a residential place that was on BLM wilderness land. And we would share a week with them and really try to give them our all in terms of care and love, with boundaries, of course, but you are their caretakers, and well, it's a powerful job. You and your staff are very united. You have to be very united in your common goal to help the kids and help them heal and progress in their lives. So that was pretty cool. takeaways, wilderness therapy was such a positive part of my life, such a life-changing part of my life. Really, it really was. And I believe in the concept of wilderness therapy, and I also believe that the people who make these companies, the people who are in charge of these companies, dictate the kind of culture that is perpetuated. And that culture can be very good, and that culture can be very bad. And it really just depends which company you're working for, what coworkers you have, if you're there as a client. It, it's somewhat of it's a luck of the draw. And what was powerful for me came from the premise of wilderness therapy. It did not come from the company that I worked for or the people that I was working with. I think we all felt the power of wilderness therapy, and people reacted to it in different ways. So I think it's ultimately for the best that I left that company and I'm on to other things now. Now we get to July, where I had my road trip to Alaska. And I've been making a video essay about this for a while now, 7 months essentially. And it's been tripping me up. So I don't want to talk too much about it here because everything that needs to be said, I just dropped my pen. Everything that really needs to be said will be said in that video. But it's worth mentioning here because it's one of the most significant things that happened in 2025. It began 2 years ago when I watched a video on YouTube of a man talking about some spiritual beliefs and how our paths are all connected, how we are the universe observing itself. So if I am the universe observing myself, and you, the universe, are observing this video, then what I'm saying is coming from you, really. The video talked like that and had a lot of those themes. So in the comments, a lot of people were feeling a sense of connection, and a woman named Asia decided to make a Discord community out of it. So I joined the Discord community and connected with a few people, but I really made friends with Asia, and whenever we interacted, it was always very genuine, and our interactions always had such unconditional positive regard. And I didn't stay in the community for too long, but I made a point to stay in touch with her, and she made a point to stay in touch with me, and we would just update each other on each other's lives. And it was like this, spiritual buddy that I had, or that we both had. And it was always a very positive relationship. But at the beginning of 2025, we had a call where we're like, let's make a goal to see each other in person in 2025. And then a month later, she reached out and asked, hey, do you want to come to my wedding in July? And I remember seeing that text message and understanding that it was an opportunity. In processing that opportunity, every cell in my body was just yes, it was just lit up of this is it just came to me as soon as she texted me. It came to me of I'm going to Alaska. I'm gonna make a road trip out of this. There's so much beautiful land in between here and Alaska, and it's such a cool thing to do. Such a cool reason to meet somebody. I don't know if you've had those kinds of things before, but I read it and I just understood immediately. I have to say yes to this. I could not justify any kind of pushback that my ego would have against it or my fear would have against it. I just knew I had to make this happen, and that I would find a way to make this happen. So that's the context for the Alaska trip. And maybe I'll leave it there for the most part, because what actually happens, I talk about in my video essay. It was a beautiful, beautiful road trip that deepened my relationship with myself, and of course deepened my relationship with Asya. We met each other. I met her husband, and yeah, she's just a wonderful person, and they have a wonderful community up in Homer, Alaska as well. I met so many incredible people on my trip, and whew, man, really opened my eyes to the world, to traveling, to life. Definitely the highlight of my year, for sure. After Alaska, I spent some time unemployed. I tried out a job at a restaurant, didn't like them, didn't like the management. The people you work with make the job, good or bad, I believe. And I think there's a lot of not great people out there. There's a lot of great people, but there's also not a lot of not great people. And man, so many people tolerate shitty working environments. I'm done doing that. After my time at Red Cliffs, I just decided I'm never going to compromise my values for the sake of a job. I don't need to. There are so many jobs out there. There are so many people out there. You can find a way. Well, I'm a bit privileged, but I think if you have some bandwidth and if you have some leeway in life, you really don't need to compromise your values to get money. That can be somewhat controversial to say, but I think it's true. I think we're taught to compromise our values to get money. It's a part of our culture, and I reject it wholeheartedly. It takes away more from you than it gives. Once again, I am privileged, but soul-sucking jobs will never serve you. They take more than they give every single time. They can give money, but there is a spiritual deficit that is going on every time you show up to work, and you know that you're not making the world a better place. You know that your boss is taking advantage of you. You know that you work with shitty people. It doesn't contribute to anything, and your quality of life will decrease the longer you work somewhere like that. I feel for people who are in tough financial situations and feel like they need to make those choices. I would never cast judgment on them. I do think that population is smaller than we think it is. So, maybe take a chance. Take a chance on yourself. Have some faith in yourself. You're talented. Everybody is talented. Find the place where your talent is valued. All right, getting off my soapbox. Last thing was less specific, but yeah, it felt like a theme for this year, that I was passing through so many communities and meeting so many people, and a lot of them kind of washed off of me, and I would meet people, try to connect. Maybe the chemistry wasn't there, or we'd have a difficult conversation, and things didn't work out. I really love the house that I live in. Actually, that's something I wasn't planning on talking about, but was very defining for this year. I became a manager at the house that I'm working at. It's a big house. It's got a lot of roommates, and I try to foster community there as much as I can. I think it's a good place. I think it's a place where people living together can actually support each other. I have lived in some houses where people just isolate and stay in their rooms and don't talk to each other, and that is non-human. That is not natural behavior, let me tell you. We are human beings. We're meant to connect. We're meant to support each other if we live together. The people you live with are the most important people in your lives. I firmly believe that. The people you live with are the most important people in your lives. That's something I felt like I learned in 2024 and brought with me into 2025. Whenever I'm having to make choices between whether I invest in the community at my house or a community of people I play frisbee with or a community of people I hang out with, the top priority, I try to choose the people in my house more often than I choose anybody else. And it's worth it. It's worth it to me every single time because I'm comfortable with them. We can share about our struggles, share about what we're really going through on a daily basis. And that stuff is invaluable to me. Um, it's so important to live in a place where you can be yourself. If you can't be yourself at home, where can you be yourself? I mean, come on. If you can't relax at home, where can you relax? As humans, we need to take care of each other more. We need to check in with each other more. And so many people don't do it. Um, but I think I did a good job of it this year with my roommates. And there's some of them that I think have really added to my life as well. Um, so shout out to them. They're awesome. Love you guys. Um, and yeah, community, connection, investment in other human beings, it's always worth it. And I get exhausted because I invest in other communities. I try to make friends in other places. And I'm still trying to do it. I'm trying to find my tribe, you know. But I have a tribe of people that live together. You know, I didn't choose them necessarily, but we live together. We have proximity. In a way, we are a family, whether we like it or not. In a way, everybody who lives together is a family, whether they like it or not. I mean, that is one of the defining aspects of a family is that they live together. I was trying to transition. I get exhausted. I really do get exhausted with how much I push myself socially, and I get discouraged. And sometimes I don't want to meet new people. I don't want to step into new communities. Um, And so when I don't want to do those things, I don't have to because I have the community at my house and it meets my most basic community needs. Yeah, it's a special place. And anybody watching this who wants to move here, St. George, it's got red rocks, mountains nearby, it's a beautiful place. If you're watching this and you're like, I'd, I'd move across the country for that. Those are the types of people that I jive with, anyways. So don't be afraid to reach out. We don't have any openings anytime soon, but openings do come up pretty regularly. So if you want to move here, hit me up. Dang, this did not go in the direction I wanted to go. However, it went in a direction that was even better. Oh, books. I did books last year. Um, okay, the books that I read this year were Man's Search for Meaning. Incredible book. Incredible. One of the greatest books of all time is just a staple in human consciousness, I believe, and is such a valuable asset to the world. I read Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson, the last book in the fantasy series, The Stormlight Archives. Great book. It was satisfying to finally get to the end of a long fantasy epic. There were different endings for different characters, and I was satisfied with some, not as satisfied with others, but those characters are dear to my heart. They live inside of me, and yeah, thank you, Brandon Sanderson, for that, and thank you for Kaladin because I really connect with that character. I read 1984, which, whew, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. Not going to talk about it in this video. But man, that was brutal. That was brutal. It's a cautionary tale, and it gets a lot of things spot on, but it has this pessimism at the end of this book that it doesn't sit right with me. It does not sit right with me. I'm not a pessimist, I'm an optimist. Human nature, truth will always win, will always prevail. And maybe he wrote it to aggravate people like me into doing something. But man, I could see a lot of parallels between the dystopia in that book and the dystopia that's currently going on. Lastly, I read a book about creative visualization, which is about using our imaginative powers to direct the way we move through reality. It's something most people don't talk about, most people don't give credit to. They think it's kind of woo woo. And I think the people who say those things just don't understand what they're talking about. They don't understand what creative visualization actually is. So I don't want to say too much more about it at the risk of kind of misinterpreting it or misrepresenting it. All that I'll say is that I am planning on using creative visualization in 2026. My goals for 2026 are to make the Las Vegas Bighorns, which is a professional ultimate frisbee team, to publish a poetry book, and to get a girlfriend. So this time I don't have resolutions. I'm setting goals for myself. I'm sure I'll experiment with my habits. I always do that. But as like looking into the year, I'm focusing on those 3 goals, and I'm going to use creative visualization to attain them. So that involves thinking about our goals in a relaxed mental state, thinking about them as if we already have them, manifesting by saying affirmations to ourselves, and regularly cultivating our mental state, the place that our operating ego resides in. If we tend to it and cultivate it every day, our actions will flow effortlessly. A thought is the first thing that happens before a reality is brought forth. We have thoughts, feelings, emotions, actions. If we do enough actions over and over again, we can achieve the goals we want. But it starts with thoughts. Thoughts are seeds, okay? Plant the right seeds, and you'll grow the life you want. Really excited for 2026. Do I say anything now? Do I say anything? I think this is it. Have a great year. Have a great year. There's no reason not to make this the best year of your life. I'm planning on making it the best year of my life. 2025 was the best year of my life so far. And last thing, I'll make a note, because I started this channel as a way to get myself out of depression. This year was by far, I'm getting emotional. This year was by far the healthiest I've ever been mentally, at least since childhood. It's not even close. It's not even close. The amount that I functioned, the amount that I achieved the goals that I wanted to achieve, the amount I was in control of my own life. That's the main thing, because I didn't feel in control of my life whatsoever for a lot of adolescence and early adulthood. So I really felt in control of my life this year for the first time. That's a powerful, powerful thing. And I really don't give myself that much credit. I really don't stop and smell the roses very often. I don't. So this is the perfect time to stop and smell the roses. A 2025 reflection video, and a yearly reflection video. This is really, I really need to give myself, I really want to give myself a moment here because man, the these struggles I've been through, it's all been internal, and it can be hard to see from the outside. I have no idea what it looks like from the outside. I really have no idea what it looks like from the outside. From the inside, it feels miraculous that I can enjoy life this much for such a long period of time. And it feels miraculous that I can create a life that I enjoy living. Not just a single day, but a life. I am enjoying the life that I have built for myself. So that's really significant to me. Um, and I'm just planning on enjoying it more and more every single year. Um, I've figured out how to get the things I want to in life. If I can accomplish this, I can accomplish anything else. Nothing in my life is going to be harder than this. Nothing in my life is going to be harder than overcoming depression by somewhat by myself. Um, I've had support from so many other people, especially my parents financially. I mean, I don't know how things would have ended up if I didn't have all this financial support. It's worth mentioning because I never want to portray an image of like, the self made man or the self made person. I very much have an incredible support system that has kept me financially afloat this whole time. And um, that's eased a lot of the burdens in my life quite a lot. But emotionally, I do feel like I've been on this journey by myself, and not to bring anybody down and to criticize anybody, but the only reason I say that is from my viewpoint right now. My viewpoint is if I can emotionally go through this journey by myself and come out the other side living a life that I want and that I believe in, there is nothing I can't do. I cannot imagine a task that is harder than the task I have fulfilled for myself. It's ironic though, because in a way I need to keep fulfilling it for myself. This task never stops, but I have things that I've built. I don't know how to express this, but it's like there are tools, there are things inside of me. It's like I've climbed up to a height that I cannot fall down from. I always want to keep climbing. I always want to stay in great mental shape. And if I were to jump, I could fall down. But I'm not planning on jumping. There is a choice, there is a control in this feeling that I don't feel like I can lose the things I have gained. There's a rapper, Coda the Friend, who has a line that I really love. You're not rich until you have something the world can't take. I feel like right now, nothing can take this level of peace and confidence that I have cultivated for myself. So, in conclusion, 2025 was a wild success, and 2026 will be even better.